In this video, we're going to talk about ETF and what Bitcoin ETF might mean for the future and why it's so important and why you should act if you want to act right now. So nothing here is financial advice, everything will be just for educational purposes. You just have to keep that in mind. Crypto is super risky, no one knows what will happen, so let's get started. So basically Bitcoin ETF is this moment which might be one of the most important moments in crypto history, because this is the moment when institutions will come to play with us, and there's be a lot of capital that will be deployed into the markets, and that probably will push the price much higher. In this video, I'm going to cover the topic, the entire thread on Twitter by Crypto Joe, who explains perfectly that we don't have that much time once the ETF gets approved, because those people will jump in quite quickly and there's a lot of capital to be deployed. So let's have a look at what he's talking about here. Basically, he analyzes the previous ETH futures and how long it took to actually start trading. And basically, if you look at this ETH futures ETF, so this is just actually being able to buy futures, so not the actual spot positions. This managed to start trading within 5 days. This is really a huge thing. So you basically have 5 days from approval to starting of trading. So this is not a long of time that you have before getting approval, and the same thing might happen with Bitcoin spot ETF, because basically once that's approved, then basically all those funds will come into play and they start to come to the market. Because basically if you have approved ETF, this is somewhat saying that this is regulated, globally available, and entire global capital can actually be deployed from other assets, so from people that want to diversify from bonds, stocks, gold, oil, and other things into Bitcoin. And basically also this is saying from the regulatory perspective that this is fine, for example, for pension funds to invest in Bitcoin. So you really have a lot of capital being available then. So this is the example of the pension funds and how big that is. There are a couple of type of investors that are coming with ETFs. This is basically for, so you can't think really about this ETF about being that this is new institutions. To some extent, this is new institutions. Those people are playing with much larger capital than before, but the difference is that they can't enter not because they don't believe in Bitcoin, but because of different regulatory issues. And having an ETF is a safe way for them to enter these alternative assets that they're looking for, because those pension funds or private banks, family offices, hedge funds are basically looking for safe ways that to invest their capital. Of course, we all know that Bitcoin is not the safest, but having an ETF really gives a little bit less risk to the entire endeavor. So from family offices to private banks to hedge funds, the most desired product is a Bitcoin ETF. And here Crypto Joe estimates that the potential money that can enter is between 10 to 20 billion dollars, which is, well, I would need to look basically at the numbers to have it to really judge that. The thing here is definitely that there's a lot of money to be entered, and the cool stuff is that order books currently are extremely thin. So basically to have a 10% price movement would take around $100 million. So of course, $10 billion doesn't mean that you would have like 10x momentarily, because back when you deploy more capital, those differences will be smaller. But still, if 10 billions were to be deployed just into the Bitcoin BTC, that would move price quite a lot. So this is what might here happen. And then if the price would even move by like 40-50%, then basically all the retail that was on the sidelines would follow, because this would be the sign that, hey, something is happening, there's a lot of things going on, and maybe we can profit from that as well. There's a lot of this greed and gambling to crypto trading especially, so you probably would see a lot of people coming to crypto back again, and that's why it's such a pivotal moment, and that might cause a bull market in the end. So this is really interesting stuff, and this is how much you have in ETF assets currently. So 7,000 billions, basically that's the number. And ETF providers are incentivized to sell this ETF as much as possible because they get their money from the commission. So the commissions that are collected by ETFs, they're around 0.37%. But if you have $7 trillion, that amounts to over $100 billion in fees collected, which is really great number. So actually, once we have Bitcoin ETF, you can think about it as we will have professional Wall Street type sellers for Bitcoin, basically, which is really a great moment. Of course, this is going to the entirely new waters, because in the end, in the short run, that definitely will change the price, but in the long run, it also will mean that we're going to compete with professional buyers, professional traders of different assets, and you might be on a really much harder position. It might be also much harder to make money with crypto because there will be so much capital already deployed. Of course, this doesn't mean that there won't be other ways to make money in crypto, but basically the main point is that both Bitcoin and Ethereum and maybe a couple of other assets in the top 10 will be heavily under the scrutiny, and there's a lot of money going into those assets, and it will be much harder to move them in the future. So this is it when it comes to the ETF and why they're important. This is an old post from Juju, who's talking about the super cycle. Of course, that wasn't true in 2021. We got the pretty nice bear market in 2022, 2023, but who knows, maybe in the future actually we'll have some kind of a much longer cycle, but it's not necessarily a good news because from my perspective, especially if you have so much capital deployed from those professional investors, then basically it means that the market will stabilize. You will have high prices, but you will have them at the same level all the time. So even if, for example, Bitcoin would grow to like $100,000 or $200,000, which is well possible, then it doesn't mean that it will go much above that, because all the capital will be deployed basically at that point, and then Bitcoin might grow on only a couple of percent per year maybe, because this will be just adjusted for inflation and not much more, because you won't have this new big participants to enter because they all enter at that point. So this is important, and this is very interesting also to think about. I think it's very important. You should really see the news to not miss it. Of course, again, I have to underline, this is purely speculation. You shouldn't take actions, especially if you're on the sidelines completely. You shouldn't take actions all at once. You still have this small window of opportunity, but probably it will go away after we get ETF approvals, especially if there will be a couple of ETFs starting at the same time, a lot of capital to be deployed. So that might be really interesting. So for everything else, subscribe to my channel. I tend to cover all the most important crypto news and more, and see you in the next video.